The stars had never looked so wrong. Satellites across Earth detected the anomaly at 3:47 a.m. Greenwich time. Space itself seemed to tear open like old fabric, and through those wounds came ships. Thousands of them. They blocked out entire constellations as they took position above the blue planet. Admiral Soreth stood at the center of his command sphere, watching the primitive world rotate slowly below. His gray scales reflected the light of tactical displays showing his fleet. 3,200 warships. The largest invasion force the Dravani Empire had assembled in 2 centuries. Begin the broadcast, he ordered. His voice traveled across every frequency, every channel, every device on Earth capable of receiving a signal. Billions of humans heard him speak in their own languages, the translation perfect and cold. People of Earth, I am Admiral Soreth of the Dravani Empire. Your world is now under our control. You are the 848th species to join our domain. Resistance is not recommended. You have 6 standard hours to surrender your governments, your militaries, and your resources. Cooperation will be rewarded. Defiance will be punished. The transmission ended. Soreth turned to his second officer, a younger Dravani named Kal. What do our scans show? Interesting readings, Admiral. The planet is classified as a Class 7 deathworld. Extreme weather, predators, diseases, unstable geology. The inhabitants are hardy but primitive. No interstellar capability. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear devices. Against our shields, they would be meaningless. Another easy conquest, Soreth said. The High Council was right to send us here. Fresh resources, billions of workers, and a strategic position in this arm of the galaxy. He had done this 847 times before. The pattern never changed. First came the shock, then the panic, then the desperate attempts at communication, then the surrender. It was almost boring. Far below, the reaction was exactly as he expected. Emergency sessions convened in every capital. Military leaders shouted at each other through video screens. Citizens filled the streets, some screaming, some praying, some simply staring at the sky in disbelief that in New York, the United Nations building became the center of Earth's response. Representatives from every nation crowded into the General Assembly Hall. The Secretary General, a woman named Adora Mensa, raised her hands for silence. We have received their demands, she said. We have 6 hours. I am open to suggestions. The room exploded with voices. Some demanded immediate surrender. Some called for nuclear strikes. Some proposed negotiation. The chaos grew until a single voice cut through. We are ready. The room went silent. All eyes turned to a man in a plain gray suit. He had no name tag, no country flag. He simply walked to the podium and placed a folder on the surface. 17 years ago, we received warning that this day would come, he said. We have been preparing. The Prometheus Protocol is ready for activation. I am requesting authorization. Secretary General Mensa stared at him. She was one of only 12 people on Earth who knew what those words meant. You are certain it will work? She asked. We have tested it 400 times. It works. She looked around the room at the confused faces. The representatives who had no idea what secret their governments had been keeping. The leaders who were about to learn that Earth was not as helpless as it appeared. Authorization granted, she said. The man in gray nodded once and left the room. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, in a facility that appeared on no map, Dr. Amara Okonkwo received the message on a screen that had been dark for 17 years. The Prometheus Protocol authorized. Her hands trembled as she entered her codes. Around her, hundreds of technicians began their work. Systems that had been dormant came alive. Power flowed through cables that stretched across continents. She thought of Lyrith, the alien who had crashed to Earth all those years ago. The refugee who had given humanity everything they needed to survive this moment. The friend who had died believing this day would come. They finally came. Amara whispered to the ghost of her mentor. Just like you said they would. Above Earth, Admiral Soreth checked the time. 5 hours remained. The planet was still silent. No surrender. No communication. No pathetic attempts at resistance. They are paralyzed with fear, Kal observed. Shall we send a reminder? Perhaps destroy one of their smaller cities? Soreth considered it. Not yet. Let them stew in their terror. It makes the eventual submission more complete. He had no idea that the silence was not fear. It was preparation. In 200 locations across Earth, from mountain bases to ocean platforms to desert installations, machines began to hum. Satellites repositioned themselves. Power grids quietly redirected their output to places that officially did not exist. The Dravani Empire had conquered 847 species. They had perfected the art of subjugation over 10,000 years. They had never lost. They had also never invaded Earth. And in 4 hours, they would learn why that distinction mattered. Word count: 876. 17 years earlier, the Siberian forest burned. Russian military helicopters circled the crash site, their searchlights cutting through smoke and falling snow. Something had torn through the atmosphere and carved a trench 3 kilometers long through the frozen wilderness. Trees lay flattened in every direction. The ground itself had turned to glass from the heat. At the center of the destruction sat a ship unlike anything humans had ever built. Colonel Viktor Petrov was the first to approach. His radiation detector showed nothing dangerous. His thermal scanner showed something impossible. Life signs. Weak, but present. "We have a survivor," he reported into his radio. "Send medical teams. And tell Moscow this is not a meteor." The survivor was not human. She was tall and thin, with skin like polished copper and eyes that held 3 pupils each. Her blood was blue. Her bones were hollow. She was dying, and she knew it, but she could still speak. "My name is Lirith," she said through a translation device recovered from her ship. "I am Fenari. My world was destroyed by the Dravani Empire 70 years ago. I have spent my life fleeing them. And now I have come to warn you." Within hours, representatives from every major government had gathered at a secret location. Lirith lay on a medical bed, surrounded by doctors who had no idea how to save her. But saving her body was not the priority. Saving what she knew was everything. "The Dravani will come," she said. "They always come. Every inhabited world in their path becomes part of their empire. They have technology you cannot match, ships you cannot defeat, weapons you cannot survive." "Then why warn us?" asked the American representative. "If we cannot win, what is the point?" Lirith smiled weakly. "I did not say you cannot win. I said you cannot match their technology. But I can give you something better." She gave them everything: star charts showing Dravani territory and expansion patterns, technical specifications for shield systems, propulsion designs, communication frequencies, and most importantly, the theoretical foundation for something called quantum erasure. "My people developed this before we were destroyed," Lirith explained. "We never had time to build it. But you have time. Perhaps 15 to 20 years before the Dravani reach this sector. If you work together, if you prepare, if you build what we could not." The world leaders looked at each other. These were people who had spent decades in conflict. Cold wars, hot wars, economic wars. They had every reason to distrust each other, but they all understood one thing. Alone, they would all die. The Prometheus Coalition was formed in secret. The greatest cooperation in human history, and no citizen would ever know about it. Trillions of dollars vanished into black budgets. The brightest scientists disappeared into underground facilities. Technology advanced by decades and years. Lirith watched it all. She had expected to die within months. Human doctors had different ideas. They could not cure her, but they could keep her alive. Year after year, she watched humans do what her own people had failed to do. They built the weapon. Dr. Amara Okonkwo was assigned to Lirith as a liaison in 2015. She was a young physicist then, brilliant and idealistic. She spent hours talking with the alien, learning not just about technology, but about the universe beyond Earth. "Why did you choose us?" Amara asked one night. "You could have crashed anywhere. You could have given this knowledge to any species." Lirith's 3-pupiled eyes grew distant. "I did not choose. My ship's navigation failed. Earth was simply where I landed." She paused. "But I am glad it was here. Your species is strange. You fight each other constantly. You destroy your own world. You are cruel and petty and short-sighted." "That does not sound like praise," Amara said. "It is not finished," Lirith replied. "You are all those things. But you are also something else. When your people face extinction, you do not surrender. You do not flee. You build. You adapt. You find ways to survive that should be impossible. The Dravani have conquered 847 species because those species accepted defeat. I do not believe humans know how to accept defeat. The Prometheus array was completed in March 2024. It consisted of 200 installations spread across the planet, all connected by quantum entanglement. Together, they could generate a field that disrupted matter at the subatomic level. Anything caught in that field would simply cease to exist. They tested it once. A small asteroid. It vanished without trace. Lyrith saw the results from her hospital bed. She was dying now, truly dying, her body finally giving up after 17 years. It works, Amara told her, holding her copper-skinned hand. We did it. Because of you. Lyrith squeezed back weakly. Promise me something. Anything. When they come, and they will come, do not become what they are. You will have the power to destroy them completely. Do not use it unless you must. Power without mercy is what created the Dravani. Be better. She died 3 hours later. Amara buried her in Geneva, in a garden that officially did not exist. She visited every year on the anniversary. Now, 17 years after a burning ship fell from the sky, the Dravani had finally arrived. And humanity was ready that Lyrith's gift was about to be opened. Word count, 912. For hours of silence was enough for Admiral Sorith. They mock us with their quiet, he growled, his gray scales darkening with anger. Very well. We will teach them the price of defiance. Target their 4 largest population centers. New York, Beijing, Mumbai, Lagos. Burn them. Weapons officers across the fleet acknowledged the order. 300 ships aligned their plasma cannons with mathematical precision. Energy built in chambers designed to crack planetary crusts. Below, 8 billion humans waited. Fire, Sorith commanded. The sky above Earth turned white. Streams of superheated plasma descended from orbit, each one carrying enough energy to vaporize a city in seconds. They fell toward New York, toward Beijing, toward Mumbai, toward Lagos. Millions of people looked up and saw their deaths approaching. The plasma never touched the ground 20 kilometers above Earth's surface. The streams struck something invisible. They spread across it like water hitting glass, dissipating harmlessly into the atmosphere. The sky flickered with aurora colors as the energy was absorbed and scattered. Sorith stared at his tactical display. What happened? The shots were intercepted. Admiral. Call reported, his voice uncertain. There appears to be some kind of barrier around the planet. Impossible. They have no shield technology. Our scans confirmed this. The barrier was not active during our scans, Admiral. It appears to have activated only when we fired. Sorith's claws dug into his command throne. In 847 conquests, this had never happened. Primitive species did not have shields. They did not have defenses. They had fear and submission and death. All ships, he ordered. Full bombardment. Every weapon. Overwhelm whatever this is. 3,200 warships opened fire simultaneously. The sky became a continuous sheet of light. Plasma, kinetic rounds, nuclear missiles, gravity distortion beams. Every weapon the Dravani had developed over 10,000 years of conquest rained down on Earth at once. The shield held in the Swiss facility. Dr. Amara Okonkwo watched the power readings with calm satisfaction. Shield is holding at 3.2% capacity. She reported to the Secretary General through a secure channel. They cannot hurt us. How long can we maintain it? Mensa asked. Indefinitely. The shield draws power from zero-point energy. It has no limit. Then we proceed with Phase 2. Amara thought of Lyrith, of her final words about power and mercy. But she also thought of the plasma falling towards cities full of children, of an empire that had destroyed 847 civilizations without remorse. Yes, she said. We proceed. Above Earth, Sorith was screaming at his officers. Find the source of this shield. Identify the technology. How do primitives possess such capabilities? No one had answers. Their sensors showed nothing. Their databases matched nothing. The barrier simply existed, absorbing everything they threw at it without strain. Admiral, Call said quietly, we are detecting energy signatures across the planet's surface. 200 separate locations. They are powering up. Sorith froze. What kind of energy? Unknown. The signatures do not match any weapon in our records. They do not match any technology in any record. Admiral, the readings are impossible. The energy levels suggest a weapon capable of, he never finished. Across Earth, 200 installations completed their synchronization. The Prometheus array, 17 years in the making, reached full power. The planet itself seemed to hum with potential energy. In her command center, Amara opened a channel to the UN. Secretary General, the array is ready. We are awaiting final authorization. Mensa stood in the General Assembly Hall, surrounded by representatives from every nation. They had all been briefed now. They all understood what was about to happen. Some were terrified. Some were triumphant. All were united. Dr. Okonkwo, she said, show them what humanity can do. Amara entered the final command sequence. Her finger hovered over the activation control. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer in a language that was not from Earth. For you, Lirith, and for everyone they destroyed. She pressed the button. The array fired. There were no beams, no explosions, no visible effect at all. The weapon did not destroy matter. It erased it. It told the universe that certain things simply did not exist, and the universe agreed. 500 Dravani ships vanished, not exploded, not damaged, vanished. One moment they were there, firing weapons, carrying crew. The next moment they were not. No debris remained, no energy signature, nothing but empty space where warships had been. Admiral Sorith watched 500 points of light disappear from his tactical display. For the first time in 200 years of service, he felt something he did not recognize. It was terror. All ships, retreat, he screamed. Jump to hyperspace. Now, the fleet began to turn. Engines powered up. Navigation systems calculated escape routes. The array fired again. 800 more ships ceased to exist. Across the remaining fleet, panic spread like fire. Soldiers who had conquered hundreds of worlds were screaming. Officers were abandoning their posts. Communications filled with prayers and pleas and sounds of pure human-like fear. The empire that had never known defeat was learning what it felt like to be prey. And the array was just getting started. Word count: 896. 1,300 ships remained. Admiral Sorith watched the number drop with every passing second. Another 100 vanished. Then another 50. His fleet, the pride of the Dravani Empire, was being erased like marks on a board. Jump drives are not responding, an officer shouted. Something is blocking our hyperspace calculations. Engines are failing across the fleet, another cried. Ships are losing power. Sorith understood then. The humans were not just destroying his fleet. They were playing with it. They were showing him that escape was impossible, that his fate was entirely in their hands. This was not war. This was a demonstration. All ships, signal surrender, he commanded. Full stop. Power down weapons. Do whatever they want. The surviving ships obeyed instantly. Warriors who had never known defeat threw down their pride like garbage. They broadcast surrender on every frequency. They shut down every system. They did everything except beg. The erasure stopped. 1,900 ships had vanished in less than 3 minutes. 1,300 remained, drifting helplessly in orbit around a world they had come to conquer. Silence filled the void. Then a voice came through every Dravani communication system. It was female. It was calm. It was human. Admiral Sorith, this is Dr. Amara Okonkwo, speaking on behalf of Earth. Your fleet has been disabled. Your weapons are offline. Your escape routes are blocked. You exist because we allow it. Sorith found his voice. What do you want? I want you to understand something. You came here expecting primitives. You came expecting easy prey. You came expecting to add another species to your collection of slaves. A pause. You were wrong. We surrender, Sorith said quickly. We accept your terms. Whatever you demand, we will provide. I have not made any demands yet, Admiral. I am simply explaining your situation. Your fleet is dead. Your empire does not know what has happened here. Right now, at this moment, I could erase every ship in orbit. I could erase your homeworld. I could erase every Dravani colony, every military base, every ship in your entire domain. Your species could cease to exist before the next hour passes. Sorith felt his scales go cold. Please, we will do anything. I know you will. But first, I want you to truly understand what you face. The weapon we have used is called quantum erasure. It does not destroy matter. It removes it from existence. There is no defense against it. There is no shield that can stop it. There is no distance that limits it. We have already mapped your entire empire. We know where your homeworld is. We know where your colonies are. We know everything. The communication fell silent. Sorith waited, barely breathing. You have conquered 847 species, Amara continued. You have destroyed civilizations that existed for millions of years. You have enslaved billions, trillions. You have caused more suffering than any force in galactic history. By every measure of justice, you deserve to be erased. Yes, Sorith whispered. We do. But we are not going to do that. Sorith looked up. What? We are not going to destroy you. We are not going to enslave you. We are not going to do to you what you have done to others. Do you know why? No, because we remember what it was like to be weak. We remember what it was like to fear the strong. We remember what it was like to have no hope. Amara's voice grew harder. And we remember that mercy is not weakness. It is strength. The strength to choose differently than those who hurt us. Sorith did not understand. 847 species had been given no mercy. Why should the 848th show any in return? A shuttle will arrive at your flagship shortly, Amara said. Our representative will explain what happens next. I suggest you listen carefully. Your survival depends on it. The communication ended. Across the remaining Dravani fleet, no one moved. They waited in terrified silence, surrounded by empty space where their comrades had been. They had come to Earth as conquerors. Now they waited like children for judgment that on Earth, celebrations had not begun. The people in the streets who had watched the invasion force appear were watching still, waiting to see what came next. They knew their world had been saved. They did not yet know what kind of world it would become that I in her command center. Amara stared at the display showing the disabled fleet. 1,900 ships erased. Millions of Dravani soldiers gone in an instant. She had done that. She had pressed the button. She had killed more beings in 3 minutes than any human in history that a technician approached her. Dr. Okonkwo, are you all right? She thought of Lirith, of her warning about power and mercy, of her faith that humans would choose to be better than their enemies. Prepare the shuttle, Amara said, and contact Colonel Annan. He has a delivery to make. She turned away from the display. There would be time to process what she had done later. Time to wonder if the weight would ever leave her shoulders. Time to question if mercy was truly the right choice. But not now. Now, there was work to do. Word count. 891. Colonel David Annan had seen war that he had fought in deserts and jungles. He had lost friends to bullets and bombs. He had held dying soldiers in his arms and told them everything would be okay when he knew it would not. War had taken pieces of him that would never grow back. But he had never walked into a room full of aliens who had just tried to destroy his world. The shuttle docked with Sorith's flagship without resistance. David walked through corridors filled with Dravani soldiers who pressed themselves against walls to let him pass. They were tall creatures, gray-scaled and powerful. Any one of them could have torn him apart with bare hands. None of them tried. They were afraid of him. Admiral Sorith waited in his command sphere. He looked smaller than David had expected. His scales had lost their color. His posture showed defeat. This was the conqueror of 847 worlds, and he looked like a broken old man. You are the human representative. Sorith asked. I am. David stopped 5 meters away. He carried no weapon. He needed none. The array was watching. The array was always watching. Have you come to execute me? No. To take me prisoner? No. Sorith's confusion was obvious. Then why are you here? David reached into his jacket and removed a small data chip. He held it up so Sorith could see it. I am here to give you this. He walked forward and placed the chip on the command console. Sorith stared at it like it might bite him. What is it? Open it. With trembling claws, Sorith activated the chip. A holographic display appeared showing a map of the galaxy. Points of light marked locations across thousands of systems. Dravani systems, military bases, fleet positions, colony worlds, the Imperial homeworld, everything. Every secret, every hidden installation, every ship in the entire empire. How do you know this? Sorith whispered. We have been watching you for 17 years, learning your communications, tracking your movements, mapping your territory. David clasped his hands behind his back. We know where your High Council meets. We know where your military academies train. We know where your children go to school. Sorith looked up at him with pure terror. You are going to destroy us. We could, David said. Right now, as we speak, our weapon could target every location on that map. Your homeworld could be erased. Every colony could be erased. Every ship, every station, every Dravani life in the universe could cease to exist. It would take approximately 6 minutes. Then why haven't you? David was quiet for a moment. He thought of his grandmother, who had survived a genocide in her youth. She had taught him that revenge was a poison that killed the one who drank it. She had taught him that the measure of a person was not what they could do, but what they chose not to do. Because we are not you, he said finally. Soreth flinched. You came here to enslave us, to take our world, to add us to your collection of conquered species. You have done this 847 times. You never asked if it was right. You never wondered if there was another way. You simply took because you had the power to take. Yes, Soreth admitted. We have the power now. We could do to you exactly what you have done to others. It would be justice. It would be fair. And it would make us exactly like you. David shook his head. We choose differently. What do you want from us? We want you to leave. We want you to withdraw from the systems you have conquered. We want you to release the species you have enslaved. We want you to stop. Soreth laughed bitterly. The High Council will never agree. The Empire has existed for 10,000 years. They will not abandon everything because one primitive world defeated one fleet. Then explain to them what happened here. Show them this map. Tell them that we know where they sleep. Tell them that we can reach them anywhere, at any time, and there is nothing they can do to stop us. David leaned forward. Tell them that we are offering peace. Once. Only once. If they refuse, if they send another fleet, if they harm a single human, we will erase them. Not just their military. Everything. Their entire species will cease to exist. You would commit genocide. We would end a threat. There is a difference. David straightened. But we would rather not. We would rather build something new. A galaxy where strength does not mean cruelty. Where power does not mean domination. Where species can exist together without fear. He extended his hand toward Soreth. It was a human gesture, meaningless to the Dravani. But David explained it. Among humans, this is how we seal agreements. It requires trust. You must reach out, make yourself vulnerable, and believe that the other person will not harm you. Soreth stared at the offered hand. This human could kill him, could kill his entire species. Was offering peace instead? It made no sense. But Soreth had no other choice. Slowly, he reached out and took David's hand. I will deliver your message, he said. Good. David released his grip. Your engines will be restored. You may leave. But remember what happened here. Remember what we chose not to do. And make sure your High Council remembers too. He turned and walked back toward the shuttle. Behind him, Soreth stared at his own hand, wondering if he had just witnessed the birth of something entirely new in the galaxy. Word count, 948. 6 months changed everything. The galaxy that had known only Dravani dominance for 10,000 years woke up to a different reality. News of Earth's victory spread through every system, every station, every hidden corner where conquered peoples whispered hopes they had forgotten how to feel. The Empire was retreating. Not everywhere. Not all at once. But system by system, the Dravani were pulling back. 200 worlds had been abandoned in 6 months. Military installations were being dismantled. Slave ships were releasing their cargo on neutral worlds. The High Council had received Soreth's message. They had seen the map. They had understood, perhaps for the first time in their existence, what it felt like to be the prey instead of the predator. And they were terrified. On Earth, Ambassador Fatima Nazari prepared for the most important speech in human history. She stood at a podium in Geneva, facing representatives from 400 species who had traveled from across the galaxy. Some were former Dravani subjects. Some were independent worlds who had lived in fear of conquest. Some were species humanity had never encountered before. All of them wanted to know what Earth intended to do with its impossible power. Thank you for coming, Fatima began. I know many of you traveled great distances. I know many of you risked much to be here. I will not waste your time with long speeches or empty promises. She gestured to a display behind her showing the Prometheus array's capabilities. 6 months ago, the Dravani Empire tried to conquer Earth. We stopped them. The weapon we used is called Quantum Erasure. It can target any location we can identify. It has no range limit. It has no defense. With it, we could destroy any species that threatens us. Murmurs spread through the crowd. This was what they feared. Another empire rising to replace the old one. But we will not, Fatima continued. The Prometheus array will never be used aggressively. We built it to defend ourselves, and defense is the only purpose it will serve. We have no interest in conquest. We have no interest in empire. We have no interest in making others fear us. A representative from a species called the Valari raised a tentacle. Then what do you want? No species builds such a weapon without purpose. Our purpose is simple. We want peace. Real peace. Not the peace of the conquered, where the strong crush the weak. The peace of equals, where every species has the right to exist without fear. She paused to let her words settle. We are proposing an alliance. Not an empire. Not a hierarchy. A partnership. Any species that joins will receive our protection. If you are attacked, we will defend you. If you are threatened, we will stand with you. The only requirement is that you extend the same courtesy to others. The hall buzzed with discussion. This was unprecedented. No galactic power had ever offered protection without demanding submission. It went against everything these species had known. The Valari spoke again. And if the Dravani attack you again? What then? Then we will end them, Fatima said simply. We have given them one chance. One. If they waste it, they will not receive another. The discussions continued for 3 days. Arguments, negotiations, debates about terms and conditions, and what-ifs. But in the end, the decision was clear. 160 species signed the founding charter of the Human Alliance. Among the first were the remnants of the Fenari. Only 2,000 remained of a species that had once numbered in the billions. When human ships arrived at their refugee settlement, they wept openly. They had thought themselves forgotten. They had thought Lyritha's sacrifice was in vain. We are here because of her, Ambassador Nazari told them personally. Everything we have, everything we built, came from her warning. Your people saved Earth. Now let us help save yours. The Fenari settlement was relocated to a paradise world within human-protected space. Construction began immediately on new cities, new homes, new futures for a people who had lost everything. 3 months later, a news crew managed to secure an interview with Admiral Sorath. He had been stripped of rank and position, exiled from Dravani society as a scapegoat for the Empire's humiliation. What are humans like? The journalist asked. Sorath was quiet for a long time before answering. They are what we pretended to be, he said finally. Strong, powerful, capable of destroying anything that threatens them. But we used our strength to dominate, to crush, to enslave. He shook his head slowly. They had the power to erase us completely. They chose mercy instead, not because they were weak, because they were strong enough to make a different choice. Do you regret the invasion? I regret nothing. Regret changes nothing. He looked directly at the camera. But I understand now. We built an empire of fear. They are building something else. Something we never imagined was possible. He paused. And I believe they will succeed. On Earth, in a quiet garden in Geneva, Dr. Amara Okonkwo knelt before a simple headstone. She placed a Fenari flower on the grave, the same species that had grown on Lyritha's homeworld before it was destroyed. We did it, she whispered. We built your sword. And we remembered when not to use it. The galaxy is changing, Lyrith. Species that lived in fear are starting to hope. Empires that ruled through terror are learning that there is another way. She touched the cold stone gently. Rest well, old friend. Humanity will take it from here. Above her, the stars shone with new meaning. They were no longer points of light in an empty sky. They were neighbors. Word count. 966. The end.